So this video is basically to go a little bit further. Okay, so we just created our table. We went ahead and committed that. That was the last thing that we did. The next thing that we want to do is go back and do an auto increment for this ID field. Okay, remember last week in MySQL we just said ID number not null, and then we said auto increment, I think is the actual words that we used. So there was already a function built into MySQL to auto increment something. Well, in Oracle there's not. In Oracle you have to make your own auto increment. In order to make our own auto increment we have to have two things. The first thing we have to have is a sequence. Okay, I've gone ahead and I've created the sequence that we can all use for auto-generating, incrementing one at a time. Okay, we have to the second part of that is we have to make a trigger to be able to use that auto sequence in our table. Okay, so basically anytime something's written, a new row is written to that table, it has to have a trigger that makes it insert the auto incremented ID into the ID field. Whew, right? That's kind of crazy, huh? But it'll make sense, possibly, once we do it. The trigger, writing a trigger is a lot of steps, and there's a lot of specifics in there. So I've already pre-written a trigger for you. Let's just open it up, look at it, we'll tweak a few things, and then run it. Of course, you can't save it because I created it as the administrator user, but you'll be able to change it and run it. But let's go ahead and open that up. So go to File, Open File, and you're probably going to just default to the C drive to begin with. Okay, so you're going to go to C, and then you want to go to the Share folder, and there it is, auto sequence trigger.sql. So you want to go ahead and open that up. Okay, and in here is the trigger. This is all the syntax for the trigger. Okay, basically what this trigger does is it says, okay, use the sequence that Clay created. So I've already done that. That's already been created. So use that sequence that's already there, and then go in and anytime a new row is written, if they had something they wanted to put in the ID spot, let them do it. Let them go ahead and put an ID in that ID spot if they want to put one in there. But if they don't and it's a null value or no value, well then insert the next auto incremented ID so that we get a unique ID in that field every time. That's basically what all this code says right here. Okay, you can see right here it's selecting from that sequence that I made. That sequence is called example ID sequence. You'll see it right here as well. Okay, there's an if-else in this trigger. So basically, if this first condition is not met, then go to the next condition and do the action corresponding to that. Okay? Alright, there's two places that we're going to have to change your table name. Okay? Before insert on, I want to make sure this says your table name. My table name is example Clay, so in this line, I'm good. Okay? So that's line 2. Before insert on, make sure you have your table name right there. Okay? The next line that you're going to want to change is line 13. Select greatest NVL max ID, 0, new ID into max ID from, and instead of example, you're going to want to put your table name there. So to make it say my table name, all I have to do is say example Clay, and it should be done. So then you just highlight all this stuff, lines 1 through 21, and then click go, or click the execute button. And if you don't see anything happen, if it runs the little dealy bob and then stops, you're good. And what do we do after we run a command in Oracle? We press the commit button. So you'll want to do that just so that it does commit what we just did to record. Okay? Now, if everything runs well, it shouldn't give you any errors, and you should be able to commit with no problem. Now, if you do have errors, the most common error is that it cannot find the sequence that I created for you. If it cannot find the sequence, okay, this is only if and only if it cannot find the sequence, then here's the command to create the sequence, but it should already be there. It should already be there and the whole class can use it. This is the command for the sequence, but you shouldn't have to do this. It should be there. Okay. This is just optional if you get errors. So create sequence example ID sec start with 1 increment by 1. Okay? And if you highlight this and execute it, then it should generate that sequence for you and everything should be cool. Then you can run this command, the trigger command, the create trigger command, and then you'll be good there for your auto incremented ID. You have to have both of these in order to be able to have an auto incremented thing. But you shouldn't have to do this. This first line is only if and only if when you run this you get an error that it can't find the sequence. You know, the other issue that you're probably going to have, I'm just going to go ahead and delete this first line just so there's no confusion. The other issue that you're going to have is that you didn't replace the table names with your table names. Before insert on, make sure this table name matches your table name, and then this line 15 here, select greatest blah 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 into max ID from, this is a table name, you got to match your table name here. Okay? Alright, we're about to go to the last part of the stuff, but I'm going to have to pause here and then restart a new video.